much for what you're going to do. We'll have to, in the words of Jim Clyburn, we'll have to make some adjustments. When it comes to our program. Let me say a few things before I present the Assistant Democratic Leader. I've done a lot of elections in my life, and I've never been worried, but we're always concerned. And I'm concerned because so many things hang in the balance of this election. Healthcare, education, housing, infrastructure, the fundamental freedoms we enjoy today that we recently have been able to enjoy in this country as black folks hang in the balance. And while we fight for those things, and we will keep fighting, we will always have to fight for those things, white supremacy, white nationalism, Christian white nationalism, racism, all those things are on the ballot in November. They're on the ballot. And make no mistake, nobody's perfect. No candidate, no cause is perfect. And we all may have some disagreements about how things should be going or not should be going. But the difference is we may appear to have amongst each other Democrats. Do not compare to the differences we have with the right-wing, election-denying, insurrection support extremists who hijacked the Republican Party, who want power again in this country. All right. All right. And so, as we continue our journey towards progress and perfection, just know that fundamental right that we recently been able to access in this country as black folks is on the ballot. And the way we continue to expand those opportunities to use that fundamental right is by showing up. Is by showing up. And so we have an opportunity. The first step in showing up is February 3rd for us in South Carolina. I've seen some of the early voting numbers, and quite frankly, it bothers me a little bit. Because we have a tremendous opportunity to show the world how important South Carolina is and how powerful our black vote is. And so if you haven't already, tomorrow, please go vote early. Bernie Scott, who's always been telling me what to do, told me early to make certain that you adopt her 10 plan. So take 10 people with you, or talk to 10 people, and encourage them to vote early. Somebody say 10. 10. Somebody say 10. 10. And if we take 10, if I take 10 and everybody else takes 10 in this room, we will create a surge that this country's never seen before. And not only will Joe Biden win South Carolina, but he will demonstrate to the world why it was a good thing to choose South Carolina. So with that, I want to present a young man from Sumter, South Carolina, who, as the first African-American president of this country, said shortly after he took office, when Jim Clyburn speaks, the entire Congress listens. When Jim Clyburn speaks, the entire Congress listens. And we know from the 2020 presidential preference primary in South Carolina, when Jim Clyburn speaks, this entire nation, not just listen, but they bubble and follow his footsteps. And when we have a chance to crisscross this country, and we do it a lot, I oftentimes remind people about how this young man from Sumter started his journey in Sumter, South Carolina, and now will forever be known. That might be your intro music. I thought I was going to have to start Juicy Rolling for y'all up here. But ladies and gentlemen, the most consequential elected official to ever serve in the United States Congress, perhaps to ever serve this country. Jim Clyburn.
Thank you, Antoine. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Antoine. You're working on the rage. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship and stewardship over the years. Thank you so very much. Ro, thank you for being you. And thank you so much for being a friend, as you've been for all of these years. Ro, it's a bit modest, but Ro is a part of this movement, and it's in him, but for his granddad. I don't know if Martin Luther King Jr. Would have ever internalized what we call, back in those days, the peaceful coexistence. What made Martin Luther King Jr., as many of you know, was Gandhi. It was Gandhi's teachings that converted Martin Luther King Jr. And King went to India, wrote grandfather. That was a part of welcoming him to India and helping him to internalize what made him who he became. So thank you, Ro, for the friendship you've been. Madam Chair, thank you for your stewardship of this council. I have committed to you in private, and so I'm going to make this commitment in public. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to help you become a tremendous success for this council. And this council is very, very important. Crystal, thank you. Crystal is spent a little time in my office, and she became very, very important to me. She taught me a lot about how to save time. You only can you just do it this way, and you can save some time. I want to thank you for that. But I really want to thank you for your commitment and your dedication to this party. The time you were in my office, you had already formed a foundation, working with Jamie and with Trav. Y'all had a real trio going. But you just need to be topped off. You had the foundation. You just need to be topped off. You came on over to the office and we got you topped off. Congratulations. Last night was just tremendous. I loved every minute of it. Thank you so much. Jamie, your introduction to me last night was classic. But you know, if an 11th grader will have the temerity, I think that's the word, to ask his congressman to come swearing into the Honor Society presidency, that takes some guts. And you know what? His congressman didn't have any more sense than to go. But I knew on that day when I met Jimmy, and I was about to leave Orangeburg Wilson High School, Mr. Mayor. I was about to leave. I turned to him and I said, "What are your plans for the future?" He told me about his plans. I said, "If you ever need a little internship, give me a call. He called and came into my orbit. And I've been trying like hell to get him out of there. He won't leave. But I want to thank you for turning that experience in. And when he won that scholarship to go to Yale University, and I wanted to, there's something interesting about Jamie's track that should be instructive for all, especially young people. Jamie gets to Yale, having been raised by his grandparents. He was a pilot of a mother who was 16 at the time. But she gave birth to him, and he, every now and then, he would run into some difficulty over here. Not with his studies, but with his finances. And Jamie would go into a particular office. There was a lady sitting there. He had no idea who that lady was. He never knew until I think I told him who she was. She just happened to be the lady that made sure that Jamie got the finances that he needed. She was in the right office to make sure he got the resources he needed to pay his bills. He did not know that lady was my brother John's sister. He never knew it. He never knew it. But she knew who he was. And that is what we have to keep in mind. When you're going through life, you never know who you're talking to, who you're interacting with, who knows you. If he had not conducted himself the way he did, she would not have been there for him. And if he did not come into my orbit, she would not have been there. So we have to really keep in mind what this is all about. George, thank you so much. In introducing the granddaughter today, I want to say two things to you. I get to her, not to be about the rest of us, to be about my relationship with George Perry. Because it's a sacred relationship. But as Jamie said, this election this year, and I don't care what anybody thinks of contrary, if they've studied history, maybe not as much as I've studied, but if you studied anything about presidential politics, you will know that this election this year will be the most consequential election in the history of this country since 1876. That's right. Because in 1876, there was an election for president between two people, one named Rutherford B. Hayes, the other named Samuel Tilden. Samuel Tilden got more votes than Hayes, but he fell one vote short in the Electoral College. One short. And because he was one vote short in the Electoral College, according to our way of electing presidents, the election got thrown into the House of Representatives. Because 3 states with 20 electoral votes sent up 2 sets of electors. Florida, Louisiana, and South Carolina. These 3 states with 20 electoral votes now, anybody goes out, there was another single vote up in Oregon, somebody up in Oregon had an electoral vote was determined to be illegal. That one was there, but that had nothing, the consequences of these 20. I just want y'all to go back to somebody go out there, well, you don't even know what he's talking about. I know what I'm talking about. These 20, South Carolina factored into it. That's what was going on January 6, 2021. Trying to get the election thrown into the House of Representatives. So the horse trading could take place. The horse trading took place back in 1876. Those 20 electoral votes became a bargaining point for the so-called redeemers, the people who wanted to redeem the South, take it back to pre-Civil War. And they cut a deal with Samuel Hayes. We'll give you these 20 votes from these 3 states if you agree to take the Reconstruction troops out of the South. So we return things back to where they used to be. That's what the deal was. So the House of Representatives couldn't resolve it. They appointed a committee of 15 people. And the committee gathered all the information and they voted 8-7 to give the votes to Hayes. 8-7, one vote. Tilden fell short by one vote. And that brought an end to Reconstruction. House of Representatives voted in the committee 8-7 by one vote. And that started Jim Crow. One vote. So all y'all take a look. I wouldn't tell you that today, but this morning you're walking in the St. John's Baptist Church. Angela was walking on the sidewalk and a man said to a lady, or she asked him, "Are you telling me that you're not going to vote?" And he said, "I'm not going to vote." Walking in the church to see the President of the United States saying he's not going to vote. The reason he ain't going to vote because he ain't got any sense. I don't know who he was, but I know he ain't got no good sense. But you can't know what's going on in this country and say you're not going to vote. And so I just want to say to you today, this is going to be a very consequential election. Lord just told you who you need to vote for. I agree 100% with him. We have got to turn out this year. We got 5 more days of early voting. We need to make ourselves for this one. We got to go out here and get people to the polls. Make phone calls. Talk to your neighbors. Explain to them. And then he closed this whole thought with this fact. Now, I know what you hear from a lot of people because I hear it all the time. The Democrats were the ones that supported slavery. All you would hear. In a technical way, the Southern Democrats did. Samuel Tilden was a Democrat from New York. He was not supporting slavery. That's why the Republican Brother B. Hayes from Ohio cut the deal with them. So it was Brother B. Hayes, the Republican, who cut the deal with the Southern Democrats. Brother B. Hayes from Ohio, the Republican, double-crossed want to say that again. 99% of the African Americans in this country in 1876 were Republicans.
Right.
They had every reason to believe that their presidential candidate, Brother B. Hayes, would do right by them. But he didn't. And so when the Republicans tell you it was the Democrats, you remind them, no, Brother B. Hayes was a Republican, and he double-crossed us back then, and we ain't going to give you a chance to double-cross us now. If you got good sense, you can do it. Joyce, I met Joyce Bailey one night, sitting in a restaurant. I had been told who she was. She is running for the United States Congress in Columbus, Ohio. I had been out to Columbus, Ohio a couple of years earlier, supporting a candidate who had gotten elected, and then she got unelected. And then she decided to run again. But then somebody came to me, as all of you all know, you all saw her last night. Marcia Fudge. Marcia Fudge says, there's a young lady going to get in that race in Columbus, Ohio. Hold your fire. But she going to win. I didn't know Joyce. I knew Marcia Fudge. If you know Marcia Fudge, she tell you to hold your fire. You got to hold your fire. So one night I'm sitting in the Democratic Club, and Marcia Fudge came up my table and says, "You remember that young lady I was talking to you about?" I said, "Yeah." She's at the table over here. She and her husband, Otto. When you finish your dinner, I will stop by the table. I did. That's what I met Joyce and Otto. And I knew, in that meeting, if I had not hung out with my Uncle Jack too long, as in Jack Daniels, I knew I had met somebody special. But everybody says she couldn't win. All of the leadership role went the other way. I went with Joyce Bailey. She convinced me in that short meeting that she was as genuine as she could want in public service. And I defied all others. Went with Joyce. Joyce won that race going away. She won that race because the voters saw in her what I saw. She didn't have what we call a majority-minority district. It wasn't even close to that. I went out to help her run for re-election. I went to this big fundraiser. There are financial institutions, there are bankers all over. She, me, and two other people who look like me. But they're all there for Joyce Bailey. Why? Because they saw in her what the Congressional Black Caucus saw in her 3 years ago when we elected her as the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. And but for the fact that I spent the 2-year sentence as chair of the caucus, I might call her the best chair we ever had. Can't call her that, because I spent 2 years as chair. Marcia Fudge spent 2 years as chair. Some of y'all will tell Marcia what I said, and I won't be able to go back to Marcia. But Joyce Bailey led us for 2 years to new heights. I was always proud to walk in that caucus meeting and watch her chair that meeting. Listen to her share with us how she thought we ought to conduct ourselves. George Bailey was an outstanding chair of the caucus. She's a great innovator on the Financial Services Committee. She headed up the professional efforts of the Financial Services Committee. She has demonstrated to her constituents in such a way that several years ago, 4 years ago, someone jumped in the race to run against her. Everybody was running around. Joyce is in trouble. Joyce is in trouble. This young lady has come back from some Ivy League school. She got all these credentials. Joyce went to Central State, an HBCU in Ohio, grew up in Dayton, Ohio, grew up almost a Cocoa Golf. A tennis player, she knew and she was competitive. And when that race was over, we ain't seen that opponent since. That's the kind of person George Bailey is. Competitive, but compassionate. George, the mic is yours. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jim Clyburn. But more importantly today, thank you for holding your fire. Let me say to you, Madam Chairwoman, the room speaks for itself. Madam Chairwoman, on the other hand, last night was fabulous. To my chairman, thank you so much for all that you do. To my colleague, Rohana, thank you for being in this fight with us. To our presiding leader, Antoine, Lord, 30-some years old. I said this morning in church that we had another C. Wright preaching was an old soul. Well, Antoine, I think you too are an old soul. South Carolina, thank you for having me here tonight. And to my good friend, Jim Clyburn, as I call him so fondly, what an honor it is for me to stand here tonight, being introduced by an icon in this nation, a son of South Carolina, a historian, and a father to three beautiful black daughters. Thank you, Angela, for being here. To your sisters, Jennifer and Mignon, we are family. Thank you for always embracing me. Jim is a civil rights leader. We know he is a colleague. He is a maker of leaders. But I am so honored that I get to call him friend. But tonight is about us. Tonight is about the great people in this state of South Carolina. We have a unique opportunity to be able to be first in the nation for the presidential primary. Now, my message will be very simple tonight. We have no other choices but to get out and vote. We've already heard our leader tell us that this is the most consequential election in our lifetime. We've heard the rich history of how we got here and how we have come from slavery to sitting in a building like this today. We get to be first It is not often you get an opportunity to use your voice to vote where the nation will be watching you. Let us not disappoint the fight that we've been in. It doesn't cost you anything to be able to go and vote. We have had so many injustices that have happened to us. Now let us go harness our justice, our freedom to vote. So often you hear Jim Clyburn, as tonight, talk about great historians. Well, last night we heard him talk about a favorite, a French historian, Alexis de Tocqueville. And when Jim reminded us that in his book, Democracy in America, he said the greatness of America lies not in being more enlightened than any other nation, but rather her ability to repair her faults. Well, South Carolina, on February the 3rd, you will get to help this great nation repair her faults. You will be able to prove the naysayers wrong. Now, Jim, I'm not a historian. I'm just a little black girl from Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
I'm a little black girl that's a member of Delta Sigma Theta. I'm just a little black girl that found her way into the United States Congress. But all my life, I can remember my mother and father telling me that Rosa Parks sat down and got arrested so I could stand up today on the House floor. They reminded me that that black woman, modern day civil rights leader, propelled Martin Luther King Jr. You see, when we stand together as we did for 381 days, we defied all odds. We didn't get on that bus. We decided that we'd walk or we'd ride share with folks who looked like us. And so when I think of all the stories and the historians that Jim Clyburn talked about, I had to reach back in my soul and think about who would I call upon. And you see, for me, it was Shirley Chisholm. Maybe because she was one of the founders of the Congressional Black Caucus. 12 bad brothers, but it only took one sister. 1971. Maybe for me, it was Barbara Jordan. Maybe for me, of all the folks, Jim, it was Fannie Lou Hamer. You see, it was Fannie Lou Hamer because she was just tired of being tired. It was Fannie Lou Hamer because she said one day, black people will have to upset the apple cart if we want change to come. Well, South Carolina, change is now. First state in the nation. I have a 10-year-old granddaughter who is remarkable. She is brilliant. She studies black history. And one day she went to school and she said, I think I'm a racist. And I said, oh, no. You can't say that. She said, no, I think I'm a racist. I only like black people. 10 years old. We bought her some history books, Jen. So I said to her, as she calls me Fondle Granny, I said, Granny's going to South Carolina. And Granny's going to be with the President of the United States. Children have no fear. She said, please tell President Biden I said hello. Now you laugh, but her picture hangs in the White House. So I think she might just have some kind of relationship. So I told her that I was going to talk about Mr. Clyburn, and I told her about all these historians and the people you talk about. And she says, and I know you're going to talk about Rosa Parks, and you're going to talk about Shirley Chisholm. She said, I've heard it over and over, but Grandma, Those people are all dead. She said, so do me a favor. When you get up there tonight, she said, remember that time you told the story about Martin Luther King when my great-grandmother was there for the I Have a Dream speech? And Mahalia Jackson hollered out, Martin, tell him about the dream. She said, well, when you get up there, you tell him Leah said, tell him about Joe Biden and why we're here. Tell them about what we're fighting for because we're alive. Tell them that we're not dead. Tell them that we have to make sure that little children like me have a brighter future. Tell them that I'm going to go to Spelman like my mother. Tell them that because of President Biden, we put $7 billion into HBCUs. Tell them that in South Carolina there are 8 HBCUs. She said, remind them that we have to have clean water. She said, but tell them the story, Granny. The little black children shouldn't have to sit in a car outside of McDonald's or a Starbucks to get on the internet. And I want to tell you, Jim Clyburn, that it was you in that Congressional Black Caucus that said to me, yes, we need an infrastructure bill. Yes, we remember when we only did roads, and then we did bridges, and then we did railroads. It wasn't controversial then. We always passed that infrastructure bill. But Jim Clyburn said our kids need to be able to get on the internet in every house, in every store. So our children will learn about the Black history. And so we had, Rokana, a little problem in the family. It came as a bipartisan bill. President Biden was so excited. But you know, black folks, you know something about problems in the family. Democrat, you know something about problems in the family. Sometimes in life you don't get to have an either or. I am chair of the most powerful caucus in the country. And I'm standing there and my colleagues are saying, and they're going to hold me hostage. We're going to give you this if you give us that. Okay, that might seem okay. But then they want to put parameters on it. You know, we got to go first. That sounds like you don't trust me. So I decided to call a family meeting. So I called Jim Clyburn. I called Benny Thompson. I called Maxine Waters. I called Hakeem Jeffrey. I called the late Eddie Bernice Johnson. And we go into what we call the Lincoln Room, a.k.a. Jim Clyburn. We sat there, my friends, for 6 hours. No food, no coffee. It was all about the business of the family, consequently, the business of this country. We came up with a plan after about 6 hours. And so then everybody's looking at everybody, well, now what? I said, we're going to pick up the phone and call the speaker because I'm Joyce Bailey and I'm chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Now you can say that when you got Jim Clyburn standing behind you. We didn't ask for permission because I was always taught, don't let other people's limitations limit you. We went into the speaker's office and we called in City Hardy. We already had Jim Clyburn. Another 2 hours went by. He said, we got a plan. Now somehow it got leaked to the media. When we opened the door, every camera in the nation was there. Now my good friend Jim Clyburn is sitting right there with me. We don't know if this darn plan is going to work or not, but we had a plan and we were strutting proud. We took 2 steps. And Jim Clyburn went to the left. And the media is standing right out front. And he said, baby, tonight's your night. Go get it. That's the kind of freedom you have in Jim Clyburn. And that night, Jim Clyburn, he went and got them. Can you imagine this little black girl, Democrat from Dayton, Ohio, home of Paul Armstrong, the Wright brothers, brokered a deal for $1.2+ trillion. Tell me black folks can't get the job done. Tell me South Carolina can't go and be first in the nation. Now my little granddaughter said, now after you tell them why you're here, after you wake them up, you know, right about now, Antoine would say, you got them recalibrated. So now you need to buckle up. Because my little granddaughter would say, now you need to tell them that President Biden is delivered. Black unemployment is at the lowest it's ever been. She said you need to tell them small businesses are thriving. You need to make sure that they understand some 14 million jobs because of President Biden. So you see, when someone tells you you shouldn't vote in this primary, when somebody tells you what do we have to lose, we have to lose the soul of this nation. We will lose our democracy because that's what's on the line. No other president has put as many black folks in to cabinet positions, to appointments. You can, as a matter of fact, add up all the appointments from other presidents, and it won't match what Joe Biden did. You see, Joe Biden made us a promise. Joe Biden said, if you elect me, I will put a black woman on the United States Supreme Court. Promises made, Jamie. Promises kept. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Let me just tell you that when I write my last story, I'll be able to say that I was there, the only elected official serving in the United States Congress that she called and invited me to testify before the United States Senate on her behalf. That's a piece of history. I was there. Joe Biden told us that he would put a female vice president if we elected. Promises made. Promises kept. All I'm going to say is Vice President Kamala Harris, a sister. Joe Biden keeps his word.
Yes, he does.
Joe Biden may be president of the United States, but Joe Biden is an everyday person.
Yes, he is.
Joe Biden is someone who understands hardship.
Yes, he does.
Joe Biden understands what it feels like to have a hole in your heart because you've lost someone far to earth. I understand that. Less than 2 years ago, I lost my husband unexpectedly. A big Jim Clyburn fan and a big Joe Biden fan.
Yes, sir.
But I know he would want me to say thank you to Joe Biden. Because when Joe Biden got that call that I had lost my item, he picked up the phone and he called me.
Yes, he will.
And then when we sat together, he told me to hold out my hand. And he put a piece of paper in my hand with a phone number on it. And he said, you're going to wake up one night, and that hole in your heart is going to be too heavy to lift. I want you to look at this number and call me if you need to. That's the President of these United States. You see, when you live a good life, good things happen to you. Joe Biden found love in jail and a mother to his children, and we elected him President of the United States of America. So I'm going to say to you, there is no turning back now. Joe Biden needs us more than ever. Joe Biden needs us to go and cast our vote. And right here in South Carolina, the nation is watching. Let's not let, not Joe Biden, let's not let this country down. So I'm going to say to you what I know Governor Westmore would have said. Westmore called me the other night and said, I want to be in South Carolina with you and Jamie and Jim and Antoine, but I'm not going to be able to make it. He said, but if you could just find a moment to say to South Carolina that I hope they feel the urgency of now. I hope they feel the emergency that we're in. I hope they understand that when South Carolina brings hope, people vote. Yeah. For those of you who may not know Westmore up close in person, a 45-year-old black man, governor. That's what happens when you vote. You can get a 45-year-old black man. Did I tell you he was a Rhodes Scholar, the first that John Hopson ever had? But let me just say this, what I know he would want to say. His mother wore a sweater so he could wear a coat. That tells you something about his character and what kind of man and governor he is. So tonight, South Carolina, America looks at you. And we are gathered here, some 400 or 500 strong. Let's go multiply that. Let's go take not 1, not 2, not 5, not 10. Let's make it limitless. Let's get buses. Let's get excited. Let's make sure that America knows that South Carolina is first in the nation. South Carolina, Jamie, is going to send us into Chicago and make us proud. Because I'm going to come back here as much as I need to remind you that I'm Congresswoman Joyce Baker, and I approve this matter. God bless you, God bless America, and go vote, go get them South Carolina. You are first in the nation. Joe Biden needs you. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Bailey. George, you got the spirit so high, I can't help but do this. Fired up. Fired up. Fired up. So give it up one more time for George Bailey. George is rather shy, and I have no apologies for saying this, but when you think about what Joe Biden did in this country, he's done more for the African American community, black people, any other president in my opinion. And when you look at the legislative agenda that Joe Biden was able to accomplish, the woman who marshaled all of that progress through the United States Congress, the Congressional Black Caucus leader, it was George Bailey. Yeah. So thank you, JB, for what you've done for our community, for the Constitution, and for the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to present perhaps, and all you have to do is look at the money's been raised, you look at the success we've had in special elections, unwinnable elections for some, midterms, you look at what has happened since 2020. Jamie Ricardo Harrison native son of Orangeburg, member of the Clyburn administration, will go down as one of the most effective DNC chairs in the history of this country. Jamie Harris. See, right? You know, we do have a Clyburn family. It's not just those 3 girls. It's a big Clyburn family. Yes, all over. I want to first of all thank Chairwoman Sumter for the invitation and for the visit. And when she said she was going to do it, and I said, well, I'm going to buy a table too. So thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank my dear friend, the other Madam Chair, Crystal Spain.
Hey!
I want you all to understand this, that Crystal Spain is a glass ceiling breaker.
Yes, yes.
She is a history maker.
Yes, yes.
And why do I say this? Never in the history of this country have we had a black woman
Right.
be the very first in the nation state in a Democratic presidential and Crystal Spain is the first. And if you've seen over these last few weeks, she's had bus tours going all over 46 counties and I've done a lot of presidential primaries here in South Carolina. I've never seen the level of organization. Trav and I were both chairs during those times. And Carol was. I have never seen the organization all around the state making sure that people understand what is at stake. Crystal, thank you for all your hard work. I'm also joined here by a DNC officer, my brother, Ken Martin, from the great state of Minnesota. Ken we have 57 state parties, and you use like, Jim, there's not 57 states. But there are 50 states, 5 territories, the District of Columbia, and our Democrats abroad. Ken Martin is the president of that association for all of those state parties, and he's also a vice chair, and he's also the chair of the Minnesota Democratic Party. Ken, thank you so much for your leadership in the community. Members of Congress, Rokana, the amazing Congresswoman Joyce Beatty from Ohio, and of course, my political dad, Jim Clyburn, and then we heard from Senator Chris Coons. The importance of this election, you've heard it. We are fighting for the soul of this nation. We're fighting to secure the freedoms that so many of us fought so hard and long, and our ancestors fought so long and hard in order to obtain. But what is the greatest threat to our freedoms? What is the greatest threat to our freedoms? Now, some may say Donald Trump. Good answer. Some may say MAGA Republicans. That's a good one, too. But I would put out there, Congressman, there's symptoms of a problem. It's political apathy or political silence. You know, when you work for Jim Clyburn, you can't help but to learn a little bit of history. And sometimes when you start to learn that history, you understand that history starts screaming at you. Right. Yelling. Saying to you, don't repeat the mistakes of the past. There are two pastors, both named Martin in history, Congressman. One was a German pastor named Martin Niemöller. And during the Holocaust, he had a little poem that he said. Some of you may have heard of it. It's etched on the walls of the Holocaust Museum. He said, first they came for the socialists, but I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unions, but I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, but I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me.
That Martin was speaking to another Martin who came up, a pastor from the South, named Martin Luther King. Congressman Clyburn often quotes Dr. King from his letter from a Birmingham jail. And in that letter, he wrote this. He said, "We will repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people." These two Martins are talking to each other, and they're talking to us. They're talking about that political silence, that political apathy. That is the greatest threat to our freedoms. That is the greatest threat to the America that we know that we can be. South Carolina Black Democrats, you are now the first in the nation. I hope you understand what that means.
Yep.
You, the progeny of those 40% of enslaved people who came to this country in shackles. You, the progeny of those who picked cotton, those who bled and poured their tears into the soil of this land. Pioneers of freedom, from Robert Smalls to September Clark to Sarah Lee Fleming to Jim Clark. You are the progeny. You are pioneers of that freedom. And the question is, what will you do in this moment? Will you stand up or will you be silent? Will you stand up or will you be silent? We have the opportunity to vote first for the most powerful person on the face of this planet. We, the people who were relegated, voiceless and voteless, relegated to the back of the bus, now have the opportunity to drive the bus. And we, my friends, are the first line of defense to once again to secure our freedoms in this nation. The question once again is, what will you do? February 3rd is coming. You have an opportunity not to even wait till February 3rd to make sure your voice is heard. Again, history is speaking, as the congressman said. That 1876 election is speaking to me, it's ringing in my ears. It is speaking to us yet again. Do not repeat the mistakes of the past. Let's make sure we get all of our voters to rise up and to go out and vote in this first in the nation primary. Thank you all.
DNC Chairman Jamie Harrison, y'all give it up for our chair. We lowered the temperature a little bit for a very significant portion of our program. As black people, African Americans, we're certainly not allergic to loss and tragedy. I know last year was probably one of the toughest years I've had on the face of this earth. 38. Lost my 21-year-old niece, car accident, unexpectedly, on her way to get my brother a birthday gift the day after his birthday. Lost my 47-year-old cousin not too long after that, unexpectedly, lawyer extraordinaire, Stanley Myers. But we also lost another friend, somebody I consider a mentor, somebody I looked up to. A legend in the South Carolina General Assembly, Senator John L. Scott. Yeah. And I know if he was here, he would be sitting at the table, smiling, celebrating, and doing what he does best, and that's giving orders. But tonight, I see his wife. I used to jokingly refer to her as First Lady Joan, Miss Joan Scott, wave in. So tonight, the South Carolina Democratic Party Council of Black Democrats will pay a tribute to the life and legacy of the late John L. Scott. And we'll do that by having a few close friends come in this order. Please govern yourself accordingly. State Senator, forever at-large Councilwoman, Tamika Isaac Devine, forever Chair of the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, Leon Howard, and first Vice Chair, Dr. Ernest Mackins. Y'all please come in that order. Thank you.
last year in August, we lost a tremendous leader in our community. But we think about John L. Scott Jr., not just as a political leader, but as a visionary. There are so many things across this state and across this nation that we can think about that has a lot to do with not just John's love of community, but for his dedication to making sure that South Carolina was always better. John gave over half his life to serving his community, from county council to House of Representatives to state senate, to offering himself as lieutenant governor. He always was looking at another way to serve our community, and not just for himself, but because he knew that this state needed strong leadership. And so I stand here today as the successor in this seat, and I tell people all the time, I am not here to fill John's shoes because they cannot be filled. He was a giant of a man, a giant of a person. But the biggest thing about John was his love for this community and his dedication to making sure that South Carolina was better. And as we look over the next few years, we'll see the growth of South Carolina Institutes for Innovation and Information. Congressman Khan, I spoke to you about that earlier this morning. John's vision for the HBCUs in this state. When we look around the state and the infrastructure, Congressman Clyburn, when we look at the financial investment that we have because of the Biden administration, and then our state leadership, due to John and his expertise about transportation and the needs of this community, we see the investments being made to make our community better. We know that although he is no longer here with us in physical presence, he will always, always be with us in spirit. And so it's my honor to stand here with my friend, the forever chairman, and his very, very good friend, Leon Howard, for this presentation.
Thank you so much. Margaret Sumter and her staff, and to the congressional union. I don't take access to him for granted. I call him at 1 o'clock in the morning and answer like it was in the middle of the day. And he worked out my issue. Thank you, congressional union, for that. Also, Senator John Scott was a very close friend of mine. We've known each other about 40 years. We would talk on the phone every night at 11:30, because that's when the news went off, and that's when everything would happen. He would tell me everything that we had done wrong in the House of Representatives, and the city was going to take care of it. I knew John before there was caller ID. Lady Scott would answer the phone and said, "Hold on, Leon, I'll get him." She had no idea who was calling, other than she knew that I called him about 11:30 at night. And so Senator Scott and I traveled a lot around the state. And true story, we were traveling and we went to some of the smaller towns on the Myrtle Beach. Those of y'all who knew Senator Scott knew that he was very proud of himself. We were stopped by the police, and I told Scott, let's take it easy, man. We want to go home tonight. We are black men in a small town, and they were killing black men like squirrels. And I said, Senator Scott, let's just take it easy. And Scott said to me, he said, "Why are you worried?" I said, "They killed Malcolm and they killed Martin." He looked at me with a straight face and said, "But neither one of them was John Scott." So I was waiting for the punchline, never got it. He was serious. And then once again, my great-grandparents lived in Lee County. I was coming through Lee County late one night, about 10 o'clock, and suddenly I go through a roadblock where there's nothing but Caucasian troopers on both sides of the road, blue lights blinking. I said, "Oh, shit." The reason I say that is because I left my driver's license home. And then I saw my driver's license. Gosh. So the sergeant shined the light in my car, and he said, "Oh, Representative Scott, it's you." I said, he radioed ahead, he said, "Let Representative Scott through. Representative Scott is coming through." That night, my brothers and sisters, I'm glad that we all look alike. he hit the ceiling. I said, man, you think in Lee County on a dark road with all white troopers, and I'm a black man, I'm going to stop and say, oh, I don't have my license, I'm not John Scott? But even on a more serious note, when I was elected to the House of Representatives, John Scott was always called for the state-run lottery bill to be recalled and put on the desk. They will always deny it. And when John was the author of the lottery bill, he was the brainchild of the lottery, he thought of the lottery, he is the reason that we have a state-run lottery today. And that young people have the opportunity to go to college because of the state-run lottery. And, you know, just like they said Abraham Lincoln didn't discover America, as some black man did, brothers and sisters, I can tell you that John Scott is the reason that we have a lottery. They will not pass the lottery bill in his name. They passed it in the Marion Carnell's name or made it a Diddy bill. They will not give him credit for it. So those of you who does not know the truth, I'm telling you the truth tonight because I was a witness. John Scott is the man when it comes to the lottery. He deserves the credit. He was the creator of the lottery bill. He was the author of the bill, but he never got credit for it. Thank you so much.
At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Jones Scott to come forward. Ms. Scott, we have a token to honor Senator John Scott. I just want to read what it says on the plaque. The South Carolina Democratic Party Council of Black Democrats honors Ms. Jones Scott in the memory of her husband, Senator John Scott. The first in the nation, Sunday Dinner, January 28, 2024.
Just one more thing, please allow me. I failed to recognize my colleagues, House Representatives. I see Representative Johnson is right here today, Senator Taylor, if you would just stand, please, members of the House and Senate. Thank you. Give me a round of applause for the House.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon again. Good afternoon again. Good evening. As I take my seat, let me end how I started by saying what in our family are the two most important words in the English language, and they're thank you. And they're not said enough. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for tolerating me. MC means must be crazy. But I appreciate what you all have done to invest into this caucus, this council, this country, and this party. And I know for certain I can say thank you in advance of what you're going to do, either now or before February 3rd. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to the chair, Margaret Sumter.
I'm going to ask Ms. Crystal Spain to please come forward.
Right.
If you notice her name is not on the program, there's a reason. The only person know about this is me. I think I told Jay a couple months ago, but I didn't want Crystal to feel that we wasn't going to recognize her. I have been involved with the Democratic Party for many years. And out of all the people I work with, she is one of the hardest working persons in this party. There are times I would call Crystal because I would see her. I said, slow down.
take a break. I said, I'm concerned about you. I would text her and I said, how you doing? You know, because, you know, as an older person, I'm older than Krista, you take the younger people under your wings.
Amen.
And you love them, and you love on them. So I will always say to her, take care of yourself. Because I love her dearly. There's never a time I have called and asked her a question or text her and she has not responded to me. So on behalf of the South Carolina Council of Black Democrats, with our greatest appreciation, we hereby present Krista Spain, South Carolina Democratic Party Chairwoman, for this recognition for your commitment and dedication to the people of South Carolina. First in the Nation Sunday Dinner, January 28th, 2024. Thank you, my sister.
Thank y'all so much. Y'all just, put me on the spot all night. I'm smiling and just trying to wave. But I truly appreciate it. I know, girl. I'm trying not to cry. But I just want to say thank you to all of you for all of the support that you've given me this year.
All right. It's all right. It's all right.
I have countless awards from different organizations, and I want you to know that I really, truly am grateful for them. I know I take them on the fly because I don't want to, speak too long, but just know that I'm so sorry.
Love. We love you.
All of the support that you give me, the pats on the back, the words of encouragement, you are the wind beneath my wings. And I truly need it. When I was approached to do this role, I didn't say no, I said hell no. I'm not doing that. And I started to realize the reason why I wouldn't do it was because I was afraid.
Yep.
And I had just finished reading Joyce Meyer's book, Do It Afraid. So I decided that I would do it afraid. And I did it. And people came and stood up for me, and I made history along with some wonderful people. Colin who's here, got elected the same day as our first vice chair, first non-binary person to do that. Myra Rivera Vasquez got elected as our second vice chair, our first Latina to hold any role in our leadership. And Michelle Grant got elected as our third vice chair. We believe she's the first black woman, but we can't prove it. But we just claim it. But we have all been working really, really hard to do this. And every day when I get up, as we got close to being first, and I got more and more nervous, and I'm like, I'm not scared of the job anymore, it's just hard. And now I just have to tell myself I have to do it hard, the way I have done everything in my life, and I really work to make sure that our party looks good, and that we're on the best possible footing, not just to be first, but so we can go back to the State House and fight, so these men and women can have people to fight. Because it's not over for South Carolina. It is just the beginning, and just know that I'm working hard. We're all working hard, and I really want to take a point of personal privilege to really, really acknowledge somebody who never gets any acknowledgement. I had that job before, and the executive director role sucks. But Jay Parmley, please stand. For all the work that he does. His job is even more thankless than mine. But everything you saw last night and are seeing this week, I could not have done it without Jay's 100% commitment to the South Carolina Democratic Party. So please know that we all are working really hard. And I also want to thank Trav for showing me the way. But being supportive. Y'all give Trav a round of applause. Trav is also a tremendous chair. One of Trav's biggest legacies will be that he put us in a building that we own. That property on Washington Street belongs to the state party and named because of Trav Robinson Jr. So thank you so much. But that's it, y'all. I just want to say thank you, and y'all don't have any more awards.
I've gotten lots of awards in my life, as I love to say now that I'm more proud of it than ever. I am the only player in the University of South Carolina in history as far as basketball goes, male or female, to have over 1,000 career points and over 1,000 career rebounds. So I have gotten a lot of accolades. And thank y'all so much, and y'all have a wonderful evening. Oh, and one more thing, y'all. I really want to give a moment of silence. We were in Clarendon County earlier this week, I think Thursday, and we had a great turnout. The Clarendon County Democrats showed up and showed out. The elected officials showed up, and one of the elected officials was the mayor of the town of Somerton, Mayor Tony Junius, and he was there supporting us, and he was killed tragically yesterday in a car accident. So please, if we can have a moment of silence for the mayor of the town of Somerton. All right, thank y'all so much.
Before you leave, please, ma'am, turn your attention to your program. We want to thank all of our sponsors who participated, bought tables, bought tickets to our sponsors. We all know no political romance without finance. So thank you so much to our sponsors. These booklets, I think, will be available as you're leaving. Since y'all look at me crazy, like, where's my booklet? They'll be available. And let me say this, I would not be doing what I am without my family. My family's at the back. Y'all stand up, please, please. Only Margaret Sumter can get Margaret Seawright out of the house. But thank you. Again, for our Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. And of course, Ms. Margaret Sumter would not be able to do